we're going to invite back into the program a friend and well, you could say a colleague, because he's had his own TV show before. Anthony Scaramucci needs no introduction. Let's just say the SkyBridge founder and managing partner is joining us now live from Southampton, New York. Good to see you, Anthony.
I apologize for the technical difficulty, Adam. Good to see you as well.
No need.
And yes, we were colleagues back in the day before my stupid political odyssey. But there you go.
Listen, we're going to talk politics, but I want to talk about the elephant in the room and the tough question, because I know you want to address this. That memo leaked from Merrill Lynch years ago. Fairfield Greenwich was a fund of funds, and it gave a bad name to fund of funds because they were not doing their due diligence in regards to Bernie Madoff. But in your case, Merrill Lynch seems to have taken a swipe at you. How do you want to respond to that?
Well, I mean, I think the memo, I guess they decided they wanted to leak it, is totally fine. I mean, it's self-evident in the memo. I mean, look, I've been in the business 31 years. My team, I think everybody knows by now, I don't manage the money at the firm. I'm more of the brand manager and the client relationship person. But we have very high integrity. I don't have a personal account. You could go check our ADV Part 1s and Part 2 with the SEC. It's an unblemished record. And I didn't appreciate that the due diligence team there was saying that my team misled them. And just simply, not to bore everybody, but while we got suspended on 2 funds during the crisis in March, we made the decision to sell out those funds in a secondary sale. And we did that because we have a liquid fund and people want their money and they want to redeem on us. I want to make sure that it's available. Adam, we've never suspended anybody or gated anybody in the 15 years that we've been doing this. And I certainly didn't want to do that now in the middle of a pandemic. So I think Merrill Lynch thought that we waited until our tender period was over last time to signify that we made those sales. Not fair. Number one, we weren't even in the negotiations. I have email traffic to prove that. And number two, these tender periods, Adam, when you get to my age, these tender periods come up every 5 minutes. We're in a tender period again right now. We tender every 3 months. We're moving it actually to 6 months because I just think it's too much tendering. And so, listen, I had to respond to them. I didn't like what they were saying about my team. I thought it was important for me to respond. But, you mentioned things like Fairfield Greenwich or Bernie Madoff. I mean, listen, we do an unbelievable amount of due diligence on our firm, qualitative, quantitative due diligence. We do background checks on everybody. You are guilty until proven innocent by SkyBridge's team.
And I brought them up, Anthony. I brought up Fairfield Greenwich simply because I was making a distinction between you do the due diligence where
I appreciate it.
They clearly want. But I know that Julia and Julie want to get in on this.
No, but I appreciate you bringing it up. Listen, I'm an upfront guy. As I said in Washington, I'm a front stabber. If you're going to make false allegations about my team and I run that team, well, I'm going to defend my team.
Hey, Anthony, it's Julia LaRoche. It's great to be with you virtually. And I do remember front stabber. That was one of the big differences that you noticed from Wall Street to DC. You've been pretty candid, though, in your latest investor letter. I saw a copy of it about the performance in March, I believe, down 24.7% on a big debt bet. And then you made some changes there and you had a strong second quarter, your best second quarter, 2012 up 6.49%, also a strong June. So Anthony, I want to talk to you just about where you're allocated because it seems like you have been, based on our conversation, bearish on equities. You have this credit bet. What is the catch-up trade here and what's sort of your outlook for markets going forward?
Well, listen, the catch-up trade, plain and simple, is in structured credit. Those are, as you know, high quality mortgages. That's been our bet, if you will. It's very predictable cash flow over very long periods of time. There was a full-blown meteor strike in March on that particular sector of the market. The reason there was it has to do with delinquencies and default rates, Julia. So at the end of the day, people thought you'd have 20 to 25% default rates if people were forced into quarantine. It turns out that the highest number so far was 8%. And so if my credit team is correct on their analysis, we have a 25 to 30% discounted fund. And as I pointed out on our last letter, our fund currently is yielding 8% at a 70 basis point interest rate environment. And we think there's an embedded discount of 25 to 30%. So This is absolutely not the right time to be selling this fund. If anything, as Buffett would tell you, the market is very efficient at transferring wealth and value from impatient investors to patient ones. And so we're out there raising money. As you pointed out in my letter, we took in 10 billion yen from a Japanese bank last month who believes in this contrarian story and believes in what you're calling a catch-up trade. And I think just as you get improving economics, fundamentals, unemployment economics, et cetera, you'll see SkyBridge restoring back to the growth and the traditional returns that we've usually gotten. But we did get schmeisted in March. And you know me, I'm very upfront about it. I apologize to clients, but I'm encouraging clients to stay in there. My team are great fundamental investors.
Hey, Anthony, it's Julie here. Let's move on from your vocation to your avocation, which is politics, of course, which is something we've talked to you a lot about before. As we head into the election in November, I know at this point you have been predicting the political demise of President Trump for a little while now. What's your current thinking on how it plays out, and also your potential role in all of it, if any?
Well, look, he's down in the polls. If you look at the polling in Wisconsin and Michigan, the numbers are down 15, down 11. If you look at the gender gap polling, it's anywhere between 22 and 24. People are saying, well, like Michael Dukakis, he could come back. It's a potential catch-up situation for him. He did the same thing in the Access Hollywood situation. He was down 13% going into the last month of the election. He won the election. I think this is very different. You have 3.5 years of data. You have 130,000 Americans dead from a mishandling of a pandemic. You'll likely have over 200,000 people, if you look at the modeling, will have died by November the 3rd. And so I just think it's a very, very different situation this time. He's also doubling and tripling down on full-on racism. Just go read the transcripts of the speeches that he gave over the weekend. It's literally as if Charles Lindbergh had a baby with Joe McCarthy, and that baby was Donald Trump, and grew up to become the president of the United States. So it's ridiculous sort of behavior. We'll be campaigning. I'll be up in Michigan. I'll be up in Pennsylvania. My family's originally from northeastern Pennsylvania. I'll be on the road in Wisconsin explaining to people why he's actually a systemic danger to the society. And I would just put this to your viewers. What is the message of the Republican Party today? What is the framework? Let's say you were landing from Mars, and let's say I landed from Mars. I said, okay, give me a pitch on these two parties. I'm going to join one of them. What is the message from the Republican Party today? It's a very, very dark message. This is the biggest schism in the Republican Party since the Jerry Ford, Ronald Reagan schism. And listen, we got to defeat Donald Trump to rebirth that party. And I hope I can be a part of that over the next 4 months.
Hey, so it's Brian Chung here. I wanted to ask as a follow-up to that, I mean, the president has been tweeting all morning about how the NASDAQ is hitting all-time highs despite the concerns that we're seeing in many corners of this country of the virus not being properly contained. Do you think that the implication is that if Donald Trump does win again in 2020, that markets are off to the races after that? Is that the Wall Street sentiment? Are people being too negative on Joe Biden? And then secondly, if you're going out on the campaign trail, are you actively advocating then for people to be voting for Joe Biden in November?
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. I've endorsed Joe Biden. I'm part of the right side PAC, a PAC that wants to be on the right side of history and against Donald Trump. But you're asking a very interesting question. JP Morgan just put out a note this morning, more or less saying that a Biden administration wouldn't be bad for the economy, would not be bad for the stock market. I'll just point out when the Obama administration took over for the Bush administration during the 2008 crisis, there was a lot of policy continuity. And so I don't see the Fed changing in a Biden administration. And I see Joe Biden, who is a moderate, bringing people into his administration, similar to what President Obama did with Tim Geithner. Geithner had worked on the recovery plan and the TARP plan with Treasury Secretary Paulson and obviously Fed Chairman Bernanke, and then he became the Treasury Secretary himself. I see that sort of succession planning. I don't see a big progressive leftist disruption in economic policy. Wouldn't make sense for anybody. So, but again, if the president wins re-election, and anything is possible, I'm not here to rule that out. I say that the president is like a prize fighter. He's not somebody that you're going to beat in a judge's scorecard. You have to sort of knock him through the ropes into the first or second ring where people are sitting if you want to beat President Trump. And so that's something that we all have to work together to do. But if he wins again, it's not clear to me that that's good for the markets. There'll likely be more racial unrest, more social unrest. He's dividing the country. He's not a person that wants to unite the country. Just look at the rhetoric. He's a red tribal leader. It's not clear to me that that's necessarily good for business in this sort of society right now that needs healing and unification and not this sort of nonsense. So we'll have to see what happens. I'm bullish either way, though, because of what's going on with the Fed and the water wall of liquidity that they're dumping into the market that's showing up in the 5 or 10 stocks on my Yahoo ticker that's on my computer that I just turned off.
There are few people who are as direct and straightforward as Anthony Scaramucci, the founder and managing partner at SkyBridge. Always good to see you. Thank you.
Hey, I'm holding the phone. Was it steady enough? It was like a steady cam here, right?
It was steady. We'll talk about it.
I got to tell you, I got a cramp in both shoulders holding my phone up like this, Adam. All right, but thank you for having me on. Please read that letter that I wrote because I think it's very telling about what's going on. I don't like the transactional nature of Wall Street now. Merrill Lynch wants to sell SkyBridge or fire us. They have the right to. Our performance was terrible. No problem. But let's do it in a gentlemanly or gentlewomanly and orderly way. Thank you, Adam.
The last word. Thank you.
All right. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Hey, investors. Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.